All right, we're about to begin. All right, thank you all for attending and welcome to the library. My name is Dr. Richard Togman, CEO of the Thunder Bay Public Library. The library holds a sacred place in our community. It's one of the few places where everyone, regardless of age, income, background, ethnicity, or orientation, can come together to engage with their neighbors. The library exists to share knowledge and understanding and to help build community. Libraries make our neighborhoods strong. Because of this unique place we hold and the special relationship we have with residents, the library is the perfect place to hold election events. One of our fundamental rights as citizens is the right to vote, and voting necessitates being informed. What better place to learn about what each and every candidate for local office stands for than at your neighborhood public library? As a nonpartisan organization run independently from the city, we are honored to be able to fill this essential role, that of helping to educate and inform the public and provide a neutral platform where all candidates can share their vision for our great city. We're so happy you could join us this evening while we check out the Neebing and Westfort candidates. To prepare for this event, we reached out and asked the community what questions they wanted candidates to answer. From this list, we boiled it down to a set of diverse questions with a wide range of issues that every city councilor will likely have to address over the course of their term. To ensure transparency and equity, we provided this list of questions to candidates in advance, so they had time to think carefully and craft their responses in a thoughtful and meaningful manner. The question and answer portion of this event is being live streamed and will also appear on our YouTube channel for those not able to attend. Now, before we begin the formal agenda, the Thunder Bay Public Library would like to pay respect to our local Indigenous authorities. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and stewards of Fort William First Nation within the Robertson Superior Treaty of 1850, and all of the sacred Anishinaabe grandmothers and grandfathers, elders, youth, and members who have come before us and have carefully guarded this land and all that it provides. We also acknowledge the contributions to our community provided by the Métis people. The Thunder Bay Public Library is committed to working with and understanding the history that has brought us all to reside on this land, and acknowledge our responsibility as treaty partners to provide access and accessibility as well as assistance to anyone wishing to use library services or space. Now, the logistics for this evening will go as follows. All of the candidates were invited to participate in the event, and I'm glad everyone here was able to make it. As I mentioned previously, the questions that will be asked of the candidates came from library patrons and the community at large, and the question list was distributed to them in advance so they could prepare. There are no surprises or trick questions here. While the candidates know the question list, they don't know which question will be asked of them specifically. Each candidate will get asked a question from the list at random to ensure fairness and a lack of bias. Each candidate will have a maximum of 2 minutes to answer each question. After a 15-second grace period, the candidate will be interrupted by me, and so they stop speaking. For our candidates, I have a nice little light clock for you there. So on the left, the first minute will light up in green, so you understand how much time you have. Right in the middle, you'll see the yellow light lighting up to let you know you have 1 minute left, and the red basically signals your time is up with a 15-second grace period. So I'd like to personally welcome the Neebing candidates. After that, we'll be followed by the Westfort candidates. So for Neebing, first up, we have left to right, Brad DeRoche, Debra Halvorsen, Greg Johnsen, Shaun Kennedy, Basil Lychowyd, and Johnsen. It takes a lot of courage to run for council, and I congratulate you for stepping forward to share your vision for the community with us tonight. So each candidate will begin by introducing themselves and highlighting their platform and goals should they be elected. So we have 60 seconds or less to give us a brief introduction, and then we'll move into the question and answer period. So first up, I'd like to ask Brad to introduce himself for us.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Brad DeRoche. I'm a civil engineer and assistant manager at one of our locally owned and operated engineering firms here in town. Originally from London, Ontario, I moved up here 10 years ago and absolutely just fell in love with Thunder Bay. It's where I call home now. I have a great job. I have a wife now, and we're looking to start a family. So really, the real reasons why I'm up here and really have other youth, young individuals see what I see in this beautiful city.
Great, thank you, Brad. All right, Debra.
Hello, my name is Debra Halvorsen, and I am running for City Council for the Neebing Ward. I feel prepared me to serve at the council table. I have a background in business, and I've worked at various office-related jobs, including owning a small business. I've worked on, or I've served on nonprofit boards and committees, so I have experience chairing meetings as well as organizing and facilitating events. And I care about people as well. I care about people of all ages, and have spent many hours volunteering and helping others. So that's part of why I feel to run for city council, and I feel that my leadership abilities would be beneficial at the council table, and I have the time, willingness, and ability to work hard for the Neebing residents. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Deborah. Greg.
Thanks, Richard. Hello, bonjour, Basil. My name is Greg Johnsen. I am currently a teacher at St. Pat's High School for the Catholic School Board. I have a master's degree in history. I'm also on the board director of the Thunder Bay Museum and a committee member of the North American Association for Sport History. I decided to run to try to get what other parts, other areas of the city have that we need. We need safer walking routes. We need walking trails, bike trails. We need better playgrounds for our younger generation and the people that need those things as well. We need tennis courts or basketball courts, and ultimately it comes down for me, we pay a lot in taxes, as you know, and we have some very high property values, and yet we seem to be consistently left behind in regards to other areas of the city when it comes to those things. So that's why I decided to run.
Perfect, thank you, Greg. Shaun.
My name is Shaun Kennedy. I'm a lifelong resident of Thunder Bay, longtime resident of Neebing Ward, growing up on Deepwood Drive. I'm part of the management team of a local grain elevator, quite successful one, I have to boast. You know, I've made a career of making a lot with very little, and I think these are skills that I think will transfer very well to our city council, because we have such a finite amount of resources at our disposal and a seemingly infinite amount of areas that need attention. I'm running on the sense of community. Like I said, I grew up in the area. I've seen Neebing go from a dust bowl with 12 houses in it when my parents built their house to a vibrant community where, you know, people gather and, you know, just want to see each other succeed. And I want to ensure that that is a tradition that's carried on, you know, not only for my kids' generation, but, you know, generations to come, because I know the good things that Neebing can give to a person, and I think it's high time that I give something back to Neebing.
Great, thank you, Shaun. Basil.
Hi, my name is Basil Lychowyd. I was raised in Fort William and now Thunder Bay. I'm running as your Neebing councillor, where I have lived there for the past 15 years. Actually, my family home is just across the street, so it's just here in Westfort. I played baseball and hockey and all that stuff here. Presently, I sit on the Canadian Lakehead Exhibition Board of Directors, and I am the fair chair, which we have just successfully completed our fair. I sit on the Finance Committee, Buildings and Grounds, Marketing, and Bylaw Committees here. I've served with the Canadian Forces. I worked in management and manufacturing sectors, Kingston Defence Works, Canada Car, Bombardier. We used to own the Northwest Waste Management, and I just kind of finished my tenure with Tormont Cat, and I brought in Reman North here with a bunch of other people which have set up here. I put my name forward with some encouragement that I had here, and I felt that I had some value added to our community. I see a lot of opportunity and solutions. I find answers, and I wish to use my Six Sigma problem-solving skills and finding the root causes. So it's just not a thing you go there and you figure out this is the way you know, things happen here. I'm not afraid to speak and challenge the process. My biggest priorities that I've heard out there is roads and the safety of our community. When I went knocking on doors, I get my oxygen from talking to people here. I am for accountability and fairness, but I want to know and make sure we take care of our wants, not our wants, our needs instead of our wants here. So I want to be the voice for the Neebing ward. And again, our roads are atrocious. Where I live, you could pick them up like a puzzle here.
All right.
So-
Thank you, Basil.
Okay.
All right, Yuxam.
Hi, bonjour. Bonjour. My name is Yuxam Wan, and I'm running for Neebing Council, the Neebing Ward Councillor. I've been in Thunder Bay for over 20 years. I've been involved in the community. Through that participation, I became a community leader. I got things done. I have had, through that, the ability to be asked and mentored to run in the federal elections in 2019 and 2021. What that gave me was a real eye-opening experience about what politics really is, where the connections are, what experience you need in order to do this work. And I think that when I saw that council this time was going to include a lot of new faces, one of the things I want to bring is that trust, those relationships, that knowledge, because I think that we need 4 years of getting things done, not 4 years of a learning curve. For the Neebing ward, it really is about the residents not being forgotten, making sure that our neighborhoods and our residents are at the forefront of the advocacy that our councillor is going to bring, and I hope that that will be my voice. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Great, thank you, Yuxam. All right, so we're going to our formal question and answer period, and maybe if I can get a little audience participation, if you can pick a number between 1 and 22. 17, all right. Starting with question 17.
Great choice.
All right, Brad. Many communities on the south side of town feel neglected as the housing stock deteriorates, homelessness is on the rise, and the business community struggles with street-level social issues. What is your plan for revitalizing our most economically depressed neighborhoods?
Thank you. I think we really have to step back and look at our infrastructure as a whole. Our city has a housing deficit. We need homes. Affordability is a big problem. I think, especially with the new zoning laws that the city has just passed, the new official plan, urban infill, revitalization, intensifying is a great solution that addresses this problem, but also addresses a lot of our current infrastructure problems. This will allow us to revitalize these areas, bring back growth, bring back industry, bring back businesses, bring back people, as well as really using those existing city infrastructures without taxing yourself and myself more to build these roads out to nowhere, to build these new subdivisions, these new areas. So that would be my plan.
Great, thank you, Brad. All right. Deborah, question 18 for you. As ecological and health concerns for our population mount, and seniors become Thunder Bay's largest demographic, walkability has become a top concern for many. Walkable neighborhoods support local business, decrease isolation and loneliness, encourage healthier lifestyles, and reduce our car dependence. Please describe how you intend to make Thunder Bay a more walkable, close-knit community.
Okay, I would advocate towards the development of houses and subdivisions in the city's more urban areas. That fits in with the plan, the strategic plan, One City Moving Together. It would help make more walkable neighborhoods. It'd be closer to shopping and city services. And it would also be better for the environment, and it would promote that concept. Building more subdivision and houses in the city's more rural areas would just contribute to, urban sprawl. Contribute to urban sprawl. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Deborah. All right, Greg, question 19. Racism and discrimination hurt us all. Reports such as the OIPRD report highlight how Thunder Bay needs to do more to make our city a truly safe and inclusive space for everyone. How will you demonstrate the city's commitment to reconciliation and the decolonization of public services?
Yeah, well, it's certainly a topic near and dear to my heart. I lost my wife, Maria, 3 years ago to cancer, and she was a refugee from Guatemala. And I know that she thrived in the city and the school community that she was in because of programs like Multicultural Center, as well as a great crew of friends. And like like I said, she thrived, in university as well because of our city and the promise that we have. It was a really great day on Friday with the commemorating the Truth and Reconciliation, and I know that the services that my school board provided was very profound. I think as a counselor, we have a duty to, first of all, listen. That's exactly what the commission was formed around. We also have a duty to learn. I found out about a terrible situation called Jordan's Principle, or it was articulated the Jordan's Principle. If you get a moment or two, see if you can learn that story about a young boy who was stuck in a hospital for, I think, 5 years. And then lastly, I think we have a duty to promote these ideals in almost everything we do, and how we treat one another, and how we treat fellow counselors, and how we go about our daily lives. We need to understand that this is something that we can, as a group, confront and not stand for.
Thank you, Greg. And just for a note to all the candidates, to just speak a little bit louder or talk closer to your microphones for the live stream. All right, Shaun, number 20.
Never been once told to be louder, usually quieter.
So, sorry, we have gaps in our physical as well as social infrastructure. Many feel that our community is at a breaking point in terms of the social issues that we face, and that social services have not kept pace with the problems. What kinds of strategic investments in social services would you undertake, and how would you intend to fund them?
I think the city is outlined in the 2020 services review done by Grant Thornton, that the city has a lot of blind spots, a lot of ineffective spending that can be drawn back and hopefully repurposed to be able to, introduce, bring back existing social programs that we've had, introduce new ones that we're in desperate need of. But, I'm well aware that the city only has a finite amount of resources available. It's, we like to take care of our own, but you don't want to, drive people into the ground through taxation to be able to, fund this. So we need, as a council, whoever is sitting there, needs to realize this and be aggressive and be tenacious with seeking additional funding from either provincial or federal governments to help us with the problems that we have. We all have kind hearts and we all want to see each other succeed, but we can only take ourselves so far, and eventually we need to start pounding on the right tables, hell, jumping on the right tables and screaming, saying, you know what, we need this help. We contribute to this province just like everyone else, so we need attention and we need help. So I think a combination between efforts from us in the city with wise spending and being able to find those nuggets of monetary help to help with these programs, and seeking help from federal and provincial governments be beneficial to us all.
Great. Thank you, Shaun. All right. Basil, abandoned homes, derelict properties, vacant commercial space, and polluted industrial land abound in the city. Legacies of deindustrialization, underfunding by the province, and a hollowing out of our downtowns by strip malls, big box stores, and online shopping present unique challenges to the future of our city fabric. What is your plan to revitalize neighborhoods and combat the degradation of the land base?
Well, there's a lot of things we can do. Bylaws are out of whack here. They need to be adjusted. Take, for example, there's a house here just on the other side here. It's been sitting empty. I don't know what's going on there. The city's got to take action. I think that instead of hiring, again, bylaw enforcement officers for the right reason, maybe we should go get a couple of kids, go cut the grass. Like, the money's spent a lot easier that way here. In terms of vacant buildings and everything else there, the police department is looking for a police station. We got a courthouse sitting empty on Arthur Street. I know it's provincial, but let's use that building. Let's move some of that department there. That could be used. We could use that money to repair our roads there. When city does jobs, I have complaints from people telling me that they don't come back and finish what they do. There's grass not planted, there's wood sitting around there. Who's looking at who's doing what job and making sure it's right? There's bare spots. We should be cleaning, so people don't sleep under trees. Let's say by my place there, by Valhalla, trim all the trees, open it up so it doesn't become a haven for people to settle down and make the neighborhood unwanted to walk. We want to walk our streets. We want to see nice things, plants, trees, but we have to do that. And if we don't take action here, we will never do that and change our bylaws. And that's where I'm at in terms of from the ground roots up, we have to take action there. Thank you.
Thank you, Basil. XM. The city owns a diverse array of publicly owned properties for a wide variety of purposes. We own golf courses, commercial office buildings, sports arenas, and parking garages. All of these are capital expenses that the city must maintain, often at taxpayer expense. What should be the set of guiding principles that determine what kinds of buildings and facilities the city should run at taxpayer expense?
Thank you. In Northern Ontario, right across the area, we were brought up with community spaces and community programs that were accessible to everyone. That's where we met our friends. That's where we went and played, where we learned all of our social skills. It's where we knew that we had a safe space, that we were accepted, and that's how the North was built. We need to remember that that is something that we need to continue to invest in. Just the big ones where we expect everyone to come into one building is not how our communities were built. We need to invest in multiple areas with multiple venues. If there's a historical reason why they were there, what state are they in now? What is the cost? Do we need to invest now to prevent things like Dease Pool going down when it gets too expensive? What do we need to invest in now for our children, for our families, for our communities? That's how the North was built. We need to look at, is it accessible? Is it usable? What are the demographics around it? What is the investment that we can leverage with the provincial or the federal or different community groups, different private sectors that might be able to come in and help us make those spaces vibrant again? We need to have those spaces for our residents and for our children if we're going to have the Thunder Bay that we remember and that a Thunder Bay that we all can give to the next generation. So a better Thunder Bay does start with building our communities, our wards, and each of those has the heart of the community spaces, and that's where I think we need to invest.
Thank you. All right, moving on to round 2 questions. We'll start at the top. So question number 1, for Brad. City Council appoints the majority of the members of the Police Services Board, with 2 councillors sitting and 1 community representative appointed by Council. This allows Council to indirectly shape the future of policing in our community. What strategies would you like to see implemented by the Thunder Bay Police Service to address crime in our community?
Thank you. I think we can all agree that our police force is going through a very challenging time. And I am, like most of us, I think, very looking forward to what our new police administrator, the findings that will come and the changes that we'll see. But with council's influence and role, I think one of the biggest things I would like to see implemented is a more proactive instead of reactive approach. Reactive, we're waiting too long to address these problems. These problems are going to get more severe, more aggressive, so on and so forth. So kind of with that approach, I think we can do more monitoring of high traffic areas. Everyone's well aware of the areas that are prone to these kind of things. And I even think that we can potentially look at options to use a more cost-effective solution instead of tying up a police officer and a cruiser, understanding that we do have a limited number of resources here. In addition to this, without having physical boots on the ground, I think we can install deterrence in these areas, including illumination, and even utilize some advanced technology, surveillance, to really deter people from visiting these problematic areas. And I think that will really help with the limited resources and officers that we see in this city. And really, we really need to invest in non-traditional policing. Again, once we get to the problem where police are involved, I feel like it's too late. And there's ways through education, through social outreach, that we can really try to tackle these issues at their roots before we get to having to involve first responders.
Thank you, Brad. Debra, small businesses employ about 2/3 of the Canadian workforce and are a critical part of our neighborhoods and communities. How would you use city resources to support the local small business community?
Well, at the moment, the CEDC is doing a great job in helping to assist businesses in their growth and development. So I would like to assist by continuing to work with them and support their services, and then encourage the residents to shop local whenever possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra. Greg, seniors are a growing segment of our community. Over 40% of residents are over the age of 50, with the fastest growing demographic being the 70-plus crowd. How would you help our city evolve to meet the needs of seniors?
Yeah. How's my mic? Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
You're soft-spoken.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, in our Neebing ward, according to some of the released demographics, we have a very high population compared to other areas of the city, and so that's why I'm a big advocate for our walking trails. Our areas throughout the ward that are underdeveloped or are not developed at all. The city has put out transportation plans that deal with biking paths, walking paths. They put a map out for it, and you may be surprised to know that our ward is primarily not on that map, and that's a concern. We also have derelict playgrounds, or certainly playgrounds that could use some really good TLC. And we also have, I was speaking with a nice woman a few minutes ago. I apologize if I can't remember your name, but she was telling me that the Rosin Road Community Center, which existed at one time, is non-existent now. And there are no plans that she knew of or that I could find about building that. And I suggested that that's an issue, again, about how we're seemingly left behind in regards to the property taxes that we pay and the property values that we have. We need walkable places. We need areas where we can ride our bikes, or in the case of seniors, we need areas where they can hang out with their grandkids in playgrounds. And if a community center cannot be built, well, the community center can be the playground, or it can be those walking trails. So I think that's very important. As I mentioned, our ward has a very high population of people that are over 50. And it seems, again, that we've maybe are being forgotten in comparison to the other areas of the city.
Thank you, Greg. Shaun, homelessness is a major issue for Thunder Bay. With winter approaching and the recent cancellation of Shelter House's SOS program, our homeless population is in an increasingly precarious position. What will you do to address the challenge of homelessness in Thunder Bay?
To start, I'd like to say that the cancellation of the SOS program was heartbreaking to hear. I've seen the work that they do. They do fantastic work. They do the work that many people would shy away from. So I commend anyone who's been a part of it. And I hope that it returns. It is exceedingly useful to our community because the homeless, people experiencing homelessness, it's not a one-size-fits-all. You have people who are temporarily homeless in between homes, and you have people who are newly without homes. You have people who have been continuously homeless, and each of them have a different set of needs. So you need a group of people available to care for them, to make sure that they get the care, the attention, the compassion that they deserve and need without having to rely on Thunder Bay Police Services or EMS teams to bring them to Thunder Bay Regional Hospital, when a lot of the times, you know, they don't necessarily need that level of care. They just need somewhere safe to be, you know, where they're taken care of, they're sheltered, they're clothed, and they're fed. It's just the basic humanity that we all deserve. I know it's not a prevalent issue within Neebing Ward, but, you know, Neebing is full of kind and compassionate people. I've seen it my entire life, and I think as the Neebing representative, I would be more than happy to put my name to anything that helps our homeless population.
Thank you, Shaun. Basil, Indigenous people are central to the future of our city. Indigenous residents are a growing share of our workforce and are dynamic entrepreneurs and cultural leaders. Yet, Thunder Bay has a reputation for racism and discrimination. How will you help address issues of systemic racism and discrimination so that Indigenous people feel safe and welcome in Thunder Bay?
Well, obviously, there's lots been done. I mean, there's the education and time. I know I'm going to bring back a little bit here where my grandparents and my parents came. We were called DPs, or if you're Italian descent, you're WOP, I'll say here. We have to get through this. We got to put them in our organizations, and they come to the fair at the CLE, and they're welcomed. I'm trying to get a different police force that, you know, can work with them, either than our Thunder Bay police when we're patrolling the grounds there for anything that happens, you know, and that makes them feel comfortable there. Racism, it's a tough thing there. We need to come to the table. We need to talk about it. And we're going through a transition. I mean, this is kind of, you know, they're part of the community. So we got to welcome. We got to take the bat off and deal with that. And I'm sure we're going in the right directions by what we have. And all I could say is education and time. And then if anybody has anything to say, it's my family. We're married into some, and yeah. So I can understand, you know, time and education will get us there. So that's me saying that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, zoning has become a hot button topic as the soaring cost of housing has highlighted the impact city planners have on the availability of affordable homes for city residents. Please describe one aspect of the recent zoning bylaw change that you support and one area of zoning that you feel needs to be changed.
So in the Neebing Ward, as we know, we are the hot spot for development. The urban sprawl, and there's a lot of development that wants to come and have a corner of paradise just like we all have. With that, though, we have to measure what is good for the environment, what is good for the residents, as well as having spaces for people to live. I'm not sure if the affordable housing is going to be addressed with the developments that are coming up in Neebing, which is a shame because there's a lot of space, and I think that we can definitely look at some of the areas where, you know, families can come to Neebing and set up shop and live just outside the city, where we know that it's you know, beautiful and open. We have good families and good spaces for them. So if I look at one of the recent zoning bylaw changes, I mean, the development, well, we can look at Parkdale or we can look at Mapleward, and the zoning that's going on behind there. I think that is an area where we can keep on building, if we do so, with mindfulness to the environment as well as to safety of the residents, the walkability, etc. One of the ones that I oppose right now is Parkdale, because I don't think that there's been enough of an environmental study done with the wetlands that are back there. There's issues with coming in, going out, but recently saying that they're going to put in 350 new homes back there worries me when we don't have that plan to keep our green space as well. So if that is not the area that we should be growing, I think that we need to talk to the city, have the consultation, make sure that we do the reviews in order to move forward together in a good way.
Okay, thank you. All right, on to the last round of questions. So, Brad, Thunder Bay has an extremely large footprint, which drives up infrastructure costs. We service an area the size of Montreal without the population or tax base to match. How would you approach plans for new subdivisions and the supply of the city's land that is slated for development?
Thank you. As a civil engineer who's been involved in several subdivision developments, this is a very dear topic to my heart here. And I believe we can kind of all agree, again, the Parkdale is a great example of what poor planning, where it gets us. With the new zoning bylaw changes, I think they've done a great part in allowing people other alternatives for the subdivision growth. We've all seen that just that the new builds in those new subdivision hasn't been enough to really address the affordability and quantity of homes that we need. So I think with the new zoning bylaws and with working with these contractors, all these contractors have a vested interest in building new homes, creating new lots. I think that if we can work with them, come up with some sort of quota system even. So for a contractor or builder to want to build 10 new lots, well, he's got to look at options to provide urban infill, intensification, so that we don't extend our city infrastructure too far. I think everyone even driving here, you probably all hit at least one pothole on the way here. That's all coming from we don't have enough resources. Our resources are spread too thin to really address this issue. And unfortunately, I think we're getting close to the tipping point where we're not going to have the funds to even keep up with our existing infrastructure. So circling back, I think we definitely really need to review the planning process, how it's going to impact existing infrastructure, how it's going to impact future infrastructure, what that cost is going to be now, what that cost is going to be in 10, 20, 30 years, so we don't continuing down this cycle, continue experiencing the same problem, and our council debates every 4 years, this is going to be a topic every time. We really need to step back, address this now, find solutions now, before we keep moving forward.
Thanks, Fred. All right, Deborah. Thunder Bay's roads suffer heavily in our climate. With a mounting infrastructure deficit and taxes continually increasing, how would you tackle the issue of roads and transportation in our community?
So roads are a big issue in our city, and especially in the Neebing ward, that need to be regularly repaired and maintained. The recreation is also an issue, as well as taxes, but the roads are one of the major ones. The roads in Stanley Park area, as Basil has said, is in terrible shape. I don't think they've been redone in over 30 years. On the Mountain Road area where I live, we have more subdivisions being built all the time, and the official plans for that area, the infrastructure cannot support the number of people that are there today. So there's been an increase of traffic, an increase of children riding their bikes and walking on the roads, which is becoming a real safety issue. And also on Mount Forest and Greengate Circle, there is nothing on that side for the children. So I've seen them cross the very busy Highway 61 to go to the school, the Northwestern View School, to go play in the park, or to go to the store. So those are issues that need to be addressed. And then in Parkdale area too, they only have one entrance at this time. Their roads are actually in fairly good shape, but they only have one entrance. And with the houses that are continually being built there, it's becoming more of a concern. So what I would like to do is look at what's budgeted last year and compare it to previous years of what was budgeted and see what was accomplished and with inflation, and then it would help us to prepare for the upcoming budget and what we can do to work on the roads in our city. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Deborah. Right. Greg. The previous council spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants and preliminary work on a proposed police headquarters and an indoor sports facility that have never been built. Would you prioritize or deprioritize these large capital projects, or are there other priorities you believe council should address first?
Yeah, it can be a frustrating part of our type of democracy, the fact that if elected as councillor, I would like to sit down and revisit the issue, look at the details. I can't imagine anybody at the table here, if elected, would just simply agree or disagree on these structures. Having said that, I think it's a high priority and it must be prioritized, especially the two examples that are mentioned. We have to consider the fact that much of the topics that we've been talking about tonight deal with crime and the future of our city. And I think one building deals with crime in a certain way, the other building deals with the future of our city. We have a duty to make things as nice or as good as for the next generation as they were for us. Having said that, it doesn't have to be, I don't believe, a cost of $40 million. I believe the city has put aside half of that money already. I'd like to see it personally built in our ward, in the tournament center, or a nearby building of a similar structure. We don't necessarily need a brand new building. I think we can repurpose existing buildings and existing areas. If you take a look at this library structure here, it's a fantastic building that we're in tonight, and it's only because of a council or people like ourselves that got together to push for these things, and we are reaping the rewards of that. I can also point to the examples of larger cities. For example, the Sky Dome. The Toronto Blue Jays didn't decide to build a brand new building. They decided to retrofit the existing one. And I think it's that kind of thinking that we need to have going forward.
Thank you, Greg. Shaun, there's a concern in the community that property taxes are high and increasing every year. However, surveys show that citizens and business are willing to pay current tax rates if they feel like they're getting a good value for their tax dollar. What is your plan to ensure that Thunder Bay gets a good return on investment on its tax dollars?
To start, the idea of continually raising taxes year in and year out, to me seems kind of similar to the concept of boiling frogs. You know, you put a frog in a pot and you crank the heat up, it'll stay there until it just expires. And that's a fear. You know, Neebing already pays such high amounts of taxes, and if you just keep putting the screws to the residents there, at a certain point it becomes unsustainable. By this, you know, in the same metaphor, if the pot's already boiling, if you're already raising the taxes consistently and someone wants to move here or a business wants to relocate here and the taxes are so high, it may scare them off. So it's almost a double-edged sword as well as boiling frogs. I'm full of metaphors. But to me, the concept of property taxes being smart with your money. Everyone here in their household is smart with their money. You need to be to survive. It's the second time I'm going to reference it, but the 2020 Grant Thornton review points out so many inefficiencies of the city, and I think all of those are opportunities for us to save money to help reduce the amount of taxes that we have to, you know, levy against our citizens, and also at the same time giving us more freedom and mobility to spend on different social programs, municipal structures, everything on this list that we've all been talking about the entire evening. So I think you have to be cautious with taxation, you have to be reserved with taxation, but you also have to be cautious and reserved with your spending to go hand in hand.
Thank you. Basil, business groups have complained that red tape and bureaucracy are a barrier to business. What is your plan to ensure that the City of Thunder Bay adopts a culture of customer service in its dealings with the public?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can do, and they're very simple. I'll start first with our seniors and residents. Some of them don't even know how to use their phone. They don't know how to put arrive can. I know there's training and courses at the library, 55 plus. But you know what? We should have a place where people could come, and if they want to know something, somebody should be there to answer the phone. not press 1, press 2, do this and everything else here. That's customer relations and customer service. I mean, I have problems operating certain things and putting apps on and everything else here, but that's kind of a thing that we need to educate people, or people have a place that they can get an answer in terms of customer relation. Our bylaws for business, these, we got to look at that. They have to be changed, and I said that before. I mean, you want to get this, you got to wait for that, or this. Can we not combine some? Can we rewrite the bylaws that make it easier for somebody that needs a license or a drawing from the city, rather than going online? Oh, I got to ask this guy. Those are little things, but again, it's a hindrance. If you're doing a project, you need some kind of an answer or pay for something. Again, city used to have a newsletter that they used to publish and send to the houses. That advocates a lot of information that where they can do and what they can see and everything else there. And similar to that, even it also did other things. The business letter, it said, you know, where the crimes are, where the trouble is and stuff like that. Not to say that it has anything to do with what I'm talking about, but certainly we have tools there we can change and make it easier for people to do business with the city of Thunder Bay. So that's where I'm on this.
Thank you. All right. Next, last question of the evening for the Neebing candidates. Many parents struggle to secure spots in childcare facilities, which sometimes prevents a parent from returning to the workforce. Would you endorse an increase in the city's childcare programs, and how would you deal with the cost of raising a child for Thunder Bay's parents?
So this is one of those really neat times, along with probably almost every other question that we've heard tonight, where our partners in the federal program, federal government, the provincial government, and municipal have to work together. We've been hearing, I had my eldest son was 1995, and I remember hearing about childcare subsidies and that it was gonna get easier. Now he's 27 and he's asking the exact same questions for my granddaughter. They're coming back to Thunder Bay, but they want to know where can their child go when they have to work, right? So we need to work with the federal government that are giving supposedly some subsidies for childcare, but those spaces need to be available. When I came here, I was lucky enough to be able to get into one of the city-run childcare centers, and it was fantastic programming, you know, good people. It was a safe environment that was regulated and watched over. So I think we need more of those if we want to attract the young families to Thunder Bay. One of the major barriers that they have is where are they gonna put their kids when they're working? You know, not everybody has Nona here. It's one of those realities that when they come to Thunder Bay and families in Thunder Bay need to have those spaces available, and that's one of the services that the city can provide. And I think that we must do that if we want to maintain the population and grow our city. The other thing that I think that we need to do is look at the regulation for home daycares. There's a lot of people who are able to and want to take on, you know, that child care, but then there's a lot of the regulations and bylaws and things like that, red tape. So we need to make that a little bit more streamlined and maybe get the information out there. There's a lot of ECE, the early childhood educators and teachers that are looking to, in retirement, now to be able to still provide for childcare and on a smaller scale, and those are things that we can look at.
Thank you. All right, well, that wraps up the Neebing Q&A session. I'd like to thank all the candidates for the great answers. We'll take a short break, and then we'll invite the Westfort candidates for their round.
Well, thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good job.
So yeah, we'll resume in a few minutes.
My mic is disappearing. The incredible.